Dear student, due to coronavirus, school started online classes for your study. So you can subscribe Golden Flower Palia YouTube channel, like and press the bell icon.
Hello friends, it's a video class of part 4, same chapter, nature and purpose of business. Today our topic is business activities. Students, at the last video class we have discussed on the business activities. Topic is industries. This one topic we have discussed on the last video class in the part 3rd. Today we will continue with the topic of commerce. So friends, what do you think about the commerce? You have any idea about the meaning of commerce? Industries have to be learned on the last video. The industries has to be categorized into 3 categories. First one, they are primary, secondary and tertiary. The primary industry was to be categorized into 2 industries is there. First is extractive industry and second is genetic industry. And secondary industry, you have to be learned on the last video class. The secondary industry was to be categorized into 2 industries. First is the manufacturing industry and constructive industry. And tertiary industry, those are providing the help to the primary, secondary and secondary. Those are called service provider industries. So same thing. Today we will discuss the topic of commerce. So student, without the commerce, we can't think about the meaning of business, because commerce is the backbone of every business. If we will do the business, so first we will start the activities of the commerce. Commerce is help to directly and indirectly goods providing to the customer. See the board. Commerce is help to is the activity. Commerce is an activity. Those are a help to directly and indirectly in the distribution of goods to consumer. Because the manufacturer are goods manufactured in the other one place in a different place, but all the users of the consumer of the goods are scattered all over the world or all over the countries. So it is a very difficult to the manufacturer producer. They have to be sell, they have to be provide to goods to the ultimately customers. So it is a provide help to buy the commerce. The commerce has to be easy for provide the goods to the consumer. And one more example is here. After the manufacture of the goods, the manufacturer or producers are always engaged in the production and the manufacture of the goods, but they don't want to be have the knowledge about the taste of the consumer. Who will easy for this thing? The customer are different, are not a relationship with the manufacturer and the producers. The consumer are living other one place, and the manufacturer are produce the goods one or the other one place. The manufacturer are not to be knowing about the taste of the consumer. What's going on in the society? Which type goods are demand in the society? So all the things is a provide a very easy way is done by under the commerce. And for the manufacturer and the consumer are ready for buying the goods, but in the lack of adequate finance, who will provide the finance to the consumer? The commerce will provide the finance to the consumer. So commerce is play a very vital role in the society, or they have to be provide to the services to all the business. Into all the business is a very commerce are very helpful. So let's a few functions those are paid by the commerce to the business or to the consumers, because the consumer are pay a very vital role for the manufacturer and the consumers, because manufacturers are different and the consumer are living in different places, so they have to be fill up the gap between the manufacturer and the consumer. Manufacturer are reach the goods to the ultimate consumer. Now first function is help in removing hindrance of persons Due to the commerce, we have discussed only for two persons. First is their manufacturer or producers and consumers. So both are not to be known about the consumer and the manufacturer to each and everyone. The consumer are different and the manufacturer are different. Manufacturer are manufacture the goods on the different one area. The consumer are knowing not to be knowing about the manufacturer. So the commerce has to be create a link between the manufacturer and the producers. So that's why the manufacturer, the consumer has to be knowing about the nature and the it product, which type product are produced by the producers or the manufacturer. The commerce will make a relationship between the manufacturer and the consumer. Next point is there, helping in removing the hindrance of place. It is a point, that one is the goods are manufactured by the manufacturer at a different place, but the buyer of its goods is scattered to all over the parts of the country, the different areas. So that one place are created by the commerce. In these places, goods are available at on the local level. So commerce will create a place for the manufacturer are sold the goods to the consumer, and the goods are transferred to the each and every area of the country. Next is here, help in removing the hindrance of time. So the goods are manufactured by the manufacturer or producers throughout the year, but is used by the consumer only due to the time. As an example, when the producers are manufactured the winter clothes throughout the year, but the consumer are consumed the winter clothes due to the winter season. So the commerce will be maintained warehousing stock where they have to be kept goods safely to the external environment. Next point is there, help in removing the hindrance of risk. Lot of risk after the manufacture of the goods, because the manufacturer pay the safety to its own goods. Just like few risks there, for example of drought, fire, theft by the employee, theft by the external. So that time the commerce will maintain, the commerce will provide the facilities to the manufacturer for avoid this risk. Next point is here, help in removing the hindrance of finance. The commerce will provide the finance resources by the banking, by the mode of exchange to the manufacturer. Next is here, help in removing the hindrance of knowledge, or help in removing the hindrance of educate consumer. It is a main point. You are knowing, you are facing this point in a present time. Suppose if you are using, earlier you was using a keypad phone. So when the new technology we have adapted in our country, so the consumer has to be aware by the commerce. The consumer has to be aware, the manufacturer has to be aware for to the consumer about the new technologies. Now in this time we are using smartphones. So it is a adoption of the technologies by the consumer by the way of advertisement. It is possible by the commerce. So manufacturer provide the facilities to the customer by the help of commerce. So we can say the commerce play a very vital role to the manufacturer and the consumer, because the manufacturer can't think about the goods to the sale, to the store, to the finance without the meaning of commerce, because goods manufacture is a different thing, but is to be distribution to the ultimate consumer. Those are need for the goods. It is a main thing. So our next topic is, after a lot of discussion, functions of commerce, meaning of commerce, lot of discussion of the commerce meaning. Next, now we'll start on today topic. But today topic is commerce are categorized into two categories. First is trade and second is acts of trade. Trade. So trade is referred to those activities which are included sale and buying of the goods and exchange of the goods. Those person are do this work, those person are doing the work of trade, it is called a traders. The traders will maintain two relation between manufacturer and the consumer. If the trader is not to be there, so it is a very difficult task for the manufacturer. That time they will maintain to the relationship between the consumer. So traders is a very essential for at one place. So trade is to be categorized into a two categories. First is there internal trade and second is external trade. So now first internal trade, when selling and buying of the goods within the geographical limits, and it is called a home trade. When the consumer are goods buying and selling at on the same country, it is called a internal trade. Next, external trade, with the consumer are beyond the geographical limits. It means it is called a overseas trade. When the consumer are buying and selling of the goods from the other one country, it is called a external trade. So internal trade are to be categorized into a two categories. First is there retailers and second is wholesaler. You all know very well who is retailer and who is wholesaler, because you have to listen this name in the society on your study syllabus. So retailer, those person are bought the goods into the small quantity from the wholesaler and sell to the directly to the ultimate consumer. It is called a retailer. The retailer has to be demanded to the wholesaler as per the need of the consumer, as per the demand of the consumer. So retailer sell the variety of the goods. So it is called a retailer. Next is the wholesaler. Wholesaler bought the goods from the manufacturer and sell to the retailer. The wholesaler will provide the credit facility, will arrange the finance, will arrange the credit to the manufacturer and to the retailer. The wholesaler will mostly sell to the single unit of the goods, not to be the as per the retailer variety of the goods. And the wholesaler don't be need to the advertisement of his own shop and the decoration of the shop. Mostly shop you have to be seen in the society, those are retailer, so they have to be need for the decoration, for attract to the customer, attract to the consumer to its own shop. But that time the no need for the decoration and for attraction for the consumer by his own shop. The wholesaler are maintaining the stock facility or a warehousing, because the manufacturer are continue involving the consuming the manufacturing the goods, but as per the demand the consumer will bought the goods from the retailer. So wholesaler, those goods are manufactured by the manufacturer, so wholesaler will provide the warehousing, those goods are manufactured by the manufacturer. So wholesaler and retailer, it's both are a very essential part for the society. The consumer is not to be possible for buying for the wholesaler, because the wholesaler is sell the goods in the large quantity and a single variety, and the retailer sell the goods into the small quantity and lot of varieties. Now next is their external trade. External trade, first is their export. When we have to be send the goods to the other one country, and when we have to be sell the goods and services to the other one country, it is called a export. Next is import. When we have to be buying from the other one country, it is called a import. Next is there entrepot, when our main motto is not buying the goods from a home consumption or own consumption. Our main motto is there for the export to the other one country. It is called a entrepot or a re-export. We are buying a goods from not to be used by own. We have to be transferred to the other one country. It is called a entrepot. Next is aids to trade. Aids to trade are service provider activities. Those are provided the services to the traders. If the aids are trade is not there, auxiliaries of trades is not there, so we can't imagine the activities of the trade. So trade are remove the hindrance of place, persons, and the finance, insurance, risk. So it is a very essential or very important for each and every traders that they have to be used for the aids to trade. First aids to trade is transport. So student, expect to listen starting of this video class. The goods are manufactured into a different place, but it is a user for all over the country or all over the world. So student, it is possible by the transport. So trade of auxiliaries are provided transport. If the transport is not to be there, so it is a very dangerous for the trade. They have to be provide the goods into all over the country. Suppose it the tea are produced in the Darjeeling, but is the consumers are all over the world. Second example is of the sugar. Mostly sugars are manufactured or consumed in the Uttar Pradesh in our state, but it is the consumers all over the world. So it is possible by the transport. If the transport is not to be there, so it is a very serious how to be reach the product till the consumers. Next is here communication. So communicate to the consumer by the internet, by the telephone, by the WhatsApp, and by the different medium. It is done by the auxiliaries to trade. Next is banking and the finance. In a present time, the bank are provided the finance to the trade, because if the bank are not to be provided the finance to the trade, it will be very serious to the business, because mostly you have to listen. In a present time, all the business are depend on the credit. Those credit are provided by the bank for the short-term loans, for the long-term loans, bank overdraft. So these type facilities are provided by the commerce under the auxiliaries of trade. Next point is insurance. Students, in a businessman always bear a lot of a risk, lot of a chances of a risk. Those are occur in the business of a uncertain. The business is always an uncertain. Those are not to be pre-decided. Just like for we can say loss of theft, loss by fire, and different of the damage of the assets. So different of the cases are occur in the time of the business in the case of risk. So the insurance company will pay the amount for the cover of the risk. In the favor of insurance, the businessman will pay the premium, will pay the minimum amount to the company for the yearly or the half yearly as per the called a premium, and for the time of the risk, the company will return of its premium with the interest for cover this risk amount. It is possible if the auxiliaries of trade, aids to trade, is possible, because if the businessmen are continue doing a business, so it is a chances for occurring a risk. Next point is here advertising. It is very popular in a present time of advertising, because the manufacturer are goods in the unknown place and the consumer are living in unknown place. They are not to be knowledge which type goods are produced by the manufacturer or the producers. It is possible with the advertisement, with the advertising. Advertising is possible because the traders are use the auxiliaries to the trade. So students, it was the business activities. Today we have to be completed business activities. Those are categorized into two categories. First industry and second commerce. Those are a main base of your business study syllabus. Thank you, students.
Do self study at home and stay home, save lives. Thank you very much.